don't come here as a tourist to implement something new. You're more here as an observer and to experience what we have to offer in this country. The tourism is actually an economic development that can actually secure the future of the Greenlandic culture. If you look at alternative aspects of the mining industry, you would do the exact opposite. Raw as a company, we work as a boat operator, we are a travel agent, and we work with just overall tourism activities. And I would say we are probably the best in Greenland for doing tailor-made trips. So we try to accommodate to all kinds of requests. I think right now we are reaching kind of a paradigm shift. For a very long time the major of the economy is contributed by the fisheries, and right now we're seeing an extensive part of it actually coming from tourism. And I think this is actually keeping and maintaining the culture as it is, because I think when you look into the tourism development especially, it's about showing what we came from with proudness. It's about showing our nature, our culture, and the entire worldview we have, and I think that's going to be enhanced even further the more we focus on tourism. Like imagine you have big mining vehicles out in the fjords, it would show a completely different view of Greenland because it's nothing that has anything to do with our culture and our background. We try to keep all our guides and all our employees local. It has to be guys and girls who grew up in these areas and really know their way around, because who's better at showing their country than those who live here? It's really about keeping the economic development here in Greenland and make sure that everybody profits from it. Not only the tourism operators, but everyone in this country. Of course, I would say when you are local and I would say we're probably one of the countries in the world that are the close to having like this hunter-gatherer society, because whenever we go out and we want to catch food, we want to have dinner, or we need to go out and catch it ourselves, not because we want to, but also because it's the cheapest alternative to actually get food. And I think sometimes people might feel a frustration that tourists will walk around in the areas where they go hunting. So people are of course super critical, but I think that's where it's super important that of course the tourism operators, the government and the officials in general, they collaborate to kind of illustrate that we're actually doing this for the benefit and the greater good of all Greenlanders. And that can sometimes be difficult. We see some part of the society that wants to enhance the economic development by focusing more on the mining industry, but I don't really think they know the consequences yet. And that's where I think it's really important that we see a focus and a need and a desire to actually inform the locals about how everything should be done for the future. And I think there is some lacking in that regard. Now I'm talking like I'm really pro-tourism development, but of course there are some aspects that we have to take into consideration. It's so important to highlight is that we do tourism under the right circumstances. And by that I mean that we should focus on quality over quantity. So I'm really critical towards how we see everything developing with the cruise ships. We see in the smaller settlements, there comes a cruise ship in with 4,000 people running over a small settlement with 400 inhabitants. And that is so unsustainable. So I think there is a proper solution, there's a proper way to solve this issue. And yeah, it's just about doing it right. I think, and that's why I'm saying we would much rather have people coming to Greenland and who's willing to spend. And because we see it has a much larger impact on the economy.
Like some of the issues that Casper touched in on were like these large-scale tourism activities such as cruise ships overrunning smaller settlements. That is a big concern of mine, because when you get like 5 tourists who are, a bit more educated and really do their research before arriving in a place and not just being dumped off as another location and just say walk around this, and this can be some sort of issue, because I've heard like various stories of people in settlements up along the coast of northern Greenland who've been walking around on, say, graveyards or Inuit like sacred places without having like an idea of like what this actually means to us as a Greenlandic people. And it is much easier to control like a crowd of, let's say, 10 people saying, let's say, don't walk here, respect this, and we'll have respect for our culture. And you've seen it various times about cruise ships, just they don't seem to have that many, let's say, limitations. I mean, it's one of our first seasons being like this busy in the cruise season, having 3,000-4,000 guests arrive in Nuuk, and we're 15,000 people. I mean, it's a large percentage. And we've had cases where weddings were interrupted because cruise ships would have liked to take pictures of the bride because she was in her national gown, and just interrupting the entire process of her just breaking down in tears because she was just surrounded. And like having days like that ruined because people aren't aware of personal spaces is just not something that should happen in Greenland. And it gives like tourism such a bad rep for being uncontrolled and being disrespectful, while so many of our guests are educated and knows about story because we've told them like this needs to be respected, and we're giving them some insight into the culture, whereas large-scale tourism is just not that possible to, unless you have like a loudspeaker like respect this. Just, to have that decency is essential. Decency and respect.
We have a guy who wants to climb Gunnbjørn, the biggest mountain in Greenland, and to solve this and to kind of proceed with this operation, we are so reliant on so many different factors, and that's collaboration with the officials, it's a collaboration with the different tour operators, and it's like these kind of operations just include so many different operators and create so much economic value even for the small settlements. And this operation is going to be happening in the east coast of Greenland, where there lives basically to none. It's like, how many people live in the Silik, do you know? I think it's maybe 1,500, so it's really small, but like an operation like this will contribute with a lot to that small community. And I think it's those kind of tours that we really have to focus on. And people who are willing to spend, who are willing to actually go here on tours and try and explore, I think that's the way we should move forward. In the new year, there starts new regulations about the concession and tourism law. So if you want to be a tourism operator, you need to be 60% owned by Greenlandic shareholders, and that means that it's much more difficult for the multinational companies to actually come in and exploit the nature that we have here. So they're being done a lot, which I think is extremely important, and we see the same, that some of the fuel system have kind of been divided up into different zones, so the big cruise ships can't come in to explore these beautiful areas. So they are totally relying on private, like Greenlandic owned companies to actually take their boats and show them the fjord systems, which is the unique part of this area. We are in one of the last untouched ecosystems on Earth, and just to put it into perspective, we're 59,000 people living in an area that is equivalent to 1/3 of the United States square meter wise. So it's completely untouched, it's extremely raw, and for us to becoming and keep being an attractive destination, it needs to stay that way. And if you ask me, mining in Greenland should be completely illegal. 85% approximately of the economy is coming from the fisheries. And those fisheries, again, it's extremely conservative. It's being done with these big shrimp trawlers, and it's bottom trawls, so they're basically scraping up the surface of the entire ocean floor. And that is the definition of insustainability. Again, I think it's extremely absurd that we're still allowed to do that, because we can see in the facts, like it's both overfishing, it's destroying the bottom of the earth, and how you can allow that and build an economy upon that is, if you ask me, it's an absurdity. And I really hope that we can change that at some point. And that's why I really hope that tourism in itself can be one of the solutions to move away from that purpose.
It's a fish. You can see it on a sonar down here.
Like this is how you see lots of people, they fish for a cod. You just drop like along the line, and then you can kind of feel it in your hand when you pull it up. And if you feel something, you just have to pull it hard to set the hook. I'm a bit of a fishing nerd, and now it was Møller who caught the fish yesterday. That's a fun part.
Wow! 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 Oh my God! 2? Yeah!
She's shitting on me.
Oh.
I really love fly fishing, and what I've spent lots of my summers on is to investigate and research on the Arctic char. And the Arctic char is a trout species. And what we figured out about this Arctic char is that it has a really cool journey throughout its life. So basically what happens during July, August, September month, the Arctic char, it starts to migrate upriver. And when it migrates upriver, of course it goes up there to spawn, and they transform into the spawning colors. One of the most astonishing fish out there. It's so beautiful. And in the rivers there are different pools and there are lakes, and they go up there to stay over the winter. So they go up there and they hibernate for a really long time, actually until May. So they don't take in any food, they don't do anything. It's basically a hibernating state. And what happens is that when we reach the spring, all the snow and the ice starts to melt, and then the char migrate out again to the sea to feed. And this means that an Arctic char only feeds for 2 months a year, which makes it one of the slowest growing trout species in the world. And it means that when you catch a fish, let's say 1.5 kilo, they're like 16 to 13 years old. And when you catch some that are like 70 centimeters, they might be even above 30. So it's really, really old fish. And I think to be able to go out and catch these fish and practice catch and release is just one of my favorite things to do. However, there is of course a backside to this, because it cannot only be good. What we see is that there are some aspects of the Greenlandic culture that is quite conservative. And that means that people feel like no matter what, they have the right to exploit the natural resources, and there are basically no limitations to it. So what we see is that lots of net fishing is being done close to the river mouths. And it's only the big fish being taken out of the river system because they're the ones that get caught in the nets. And imagine taking a 30-year-old fish out of the river system and out of the ecosystem, and it's these big fish that lays, and they lay so many eggs. It's those that do the very best of actually keeping the abundance of the fish to its original stock, the original size. But what's happening now is that they're slowly dying out, and for me that is such a shame. Like, it's my favorite fish. It's one of the coolest activities that I can imagine, but this is slowly being removed because people are just overfishing with nets. We see lots of the areas that they completely vanish because they grow so slowly. So if you start taking them out of the ecosystem, they disappear. And it's really a fight that I want to take up. But the thing is, when this is so embedded and integrated into the culture, you're going to get a lot of enemies if you start to take this debate up. So you have to walk really, really cautious when you go into these kind of events. It's going to be interesting, but I'm in for mission Save the Arctic char. Greenland is, of course, as I mentioned, in a paradigm shift. We see a transitional period towards more tourism, but at the same time, the culture in Greenland is also quite conservative. So there is also this, let's say, norm that if you're an older being in Greenland, you also have a bigger saying. And that can sometimes be an issue if you're like me and Silik. We're 22 and 20 years old and we really want to move forward and make some changes to this country. But it can also be met with a lot of criticism. So it can be difficult, and you will meet like barriers to actually achieve these goals that we have. But again, I'm hopeful, and I really hope that we can change it by the support of the government. But time will show if that's possible, but that's at least what we're standing for here at Raw Arctic.